Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Thank you for joining us for this month's monthly briefing, where we will go through some of the world's most impactful events that affected international travel over the last month and this upcoming month. My name is Nolan Perrin, and I'm the Intel Operations Manager here at SafeAbroad, and I will be joined by several of our fellow intelligence analysts who will go through and introduce themselves as they present. And please be aware that at the end, we will hold over some time if you have any additional questions. And feel free to use the chat function as they come up. So without further ado, we get into it. So these are some of the events that we will be covering, both in the previous month as well as the month coming up of March. Um, on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see several of our reports that we've worked on here at Safe Abroad that talk about some of the world's most impactful events and trends that are affecting international education. And these are available on our website for free. So let's get into it. Starting off on February 16th, we saw the first of many 5-day strikes throughout Spain that disrupted healthcare. Uh, the Spanish Confederation of Medical Unions organized these strikes to demand legal statutes for their medical profession, as well as in protest to a proposed reform that regulates their working conditions. Minimum services are still legally required to be available, and that includes emergency services, though these strikes are causing major disruptions to healthcare, as can be seen with the example in Malaga from February 16th, where 200,000 appointments were canceled during this period. These strikes will take the place over the course of 5 days during the working week and will take place once a month until they end on June 19th. So travelers are advised to confirm and adjust their medical appointments as needed, and they should also plan contingency services should they not be able to follow through with their medical appointments. On February 18th and lasting through the 20th, heavy snowfall battered Romania, which caused transportation disruptions as well as power outages. Rail services, bus services, and flights were non-operational. The country received 16 inches of snow during this period, which covered large stretches of highways, and this closed a lot of roads as trees fell over and power lines were made hazardous. Around 200,000 homes lost electricity during this period, and Bucharest saw the highest amount of snowfall they have in 13 years. So this was a very unusually strong storm. Travelers were advised to avoid all non-essential travel, and they should have also reconfirmed flight and public transportation as well. Travelers should also note that power has been largely restored at this time. Moving over to Bolivia, where authorities reported 5,500 cases and multiple deaths, although that number of deaths is very low at this time, of Chikungunya virus in Bolivia since the start of this year, which has caused concern through the 28th of February. The Bolivian health authorities issued red warning alerts during this time from February 19th through the 28th due to the rising rates, which the CDC has recognized as an official outbreak of chikungunya. The virus is spread through mosquito bites and can cause fever and joint pain. Cases are expected to rise in the immediate future, especially in the most impacted departments, which include Santa Cruz and Cochabamba. Both of these departments include two of the country's three largest cities, Cochabamba and Santa Cruz de la Sierra, which is the most populous city in the country. So vaccines may be right for your travelers if they are staying for an extended amount of time. So we recommend that travelers were advised to protect themselves against insect bites by both using repellent and wearing long sleeve shirts, and to consider getting vaccinated against chikungunya virus if they plan to stay for an extended amount of time.
Hi, all. I'm Kira, and I will be covering the protests that occurred in the Philippines, where tens of thousands protested in Manila, a part of the activist group Tindig Filipinas. The group hosted its third trillion peso march on the 25th of February, with other related demonstrations from various groups beginning on February 22nd. The protest coincided with the EDSA People Power anniversary, where protesters called for stronger action against alleged corruption in flood control projects. The protest started at 7 a.m., where protesters gathered for a prayer walk before they marched through the city of Manila and ending with a mass and concert in the evening. The travellers were advised to follow authority guidelines and expect transport delays during the specific main event on the 25th.
Moving on to Mexico, where we saw major cartel retaliation following the death of one of the country's largest cartel leaders on February 22nd. These retaliations included roadblocks, arson, and attacks, which covered wide geographic swaths of the country, although it should be noted that the worst of the violence and the most disruptions took place in Jalisco and its neighboring states, which is the home of the cartel, whose boss was killed in a special forces raid by Mexican special forces. This retaliation led to the U.S. Embassy in Mexico advising travelers to shelter in place across a wide range of the country, including many popular and traditionally considered safe areas of Mexico, such as Tulum, Cozumel, Cancun. Although travelers should note, and study abroad advisors should note, that the disruptions that occurred in these areas was very limited compared to what was going on in Jalisco, specifically Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. These safer areas saw mostly roadblocks with a few cases of arson in there as well, so very little violence, thankfully. In total, 252 roadblocks were put up across the country, and 10,000 soldiers were deployed by Mexico, which mostly went to Jalisco. So, safe abroad travelers were advised to follow all official directives and to monitor local media and all media for updates. All shelter in place orders at this moment in time have been lifted.
Hello, my name is Colin Olson. I'll be covering Storm Pedro, which hit the western French region on February 23rd and caused delays and closures region-wide. At the time, the storm delivered an extraordinary volume of rainfall across the western departments. The situation escalated quickly, moving from a standard weather warnings nationwide to rapidly rising river levels and widespread flooding. As you can see from the briefing slide and the imagery from the event, local authorities were forced to initiate emergency evacuation orders in high-risk zones to prevent the loss of life. The peak of the impact occurred on the 23rd, and the secondary effects were significant. Major transit hubs were shut down, and we saw total closures of regional rail lines and secondary roads due to standing water and debris. This was immediately followed by widespread power outages, specifically in the affected rural areas. In the following days of the peak, the French government declared a state of natural disaster to fast-track the insurance claims for the damages. While power has now been restored to the majority of the rural households, recovery remains a slow process. It only finished towards the end of it, finishing around March 2nd. Record high soil saturation continues to hinder the cleanup efforts continuously, and safe abroad travelers were advised to maintain on high ground during the event.
All right, moving on to some upcoming events.
Hi, my name is Thomas Gordon, and I apologize if you can hear knocking in the background. They decided that my building decided that they were going to renovate right now. So we're going to be covering Fallas, which is happening in Valencia in Spain. So Fallas is a festival that occurs annually between March 1st and March 19th, with the major festivities happening around between March 15th and March. Excuse me. Um, so Fallas is known for it's a fire festival known for burning satirical papier-mâché statues and intense fireworks shows. There is going to be loud noises happening throughout the entire festival, and ash and smoke in the air most of the time during that time. Um, there is expected to be road closures, and there's expected to be road closures throughout most of the time during Fallas, especially during the fireworks shows that happen throughout. Um, Stations such as Shativa and Cologne stations are expected to be closed due to their proximity near the Central Square, which is where most of the fireworks show happen. But most metro stations and roads and public transport are closed during the major festivities, which happen between March 15th and March 19th. Um, so most people generally tend to walk during those times. Travelers should maintain awareness in large crowds and be aware of firecrackers. There has been issues with unregulated firecrackers in the past with Fallas. There have been reports that the authorities are going to crack down on that this year, but we don't know for sure if that is how much they're going to crack down on that. Those sensitive to noise should bring earplugs, or if they're inside, make sure to keep the windows closed to not let any noise in.
Thank you. On March 7 in Italy, air traffic controllers will go on strike, which is expected to cause nationwide disruptions to air travel. The strike will run from 10 in the morning to 6 p.m. At night. This follows a string of aviation strikes that we've seen in Italy over the last month, which has caused major disruptions, especially in light of the Olympics taking place. It should be noted that there are protected times, and you can see that reflected in the strike schedule there of the guaranteed times, which have to be guaranteed legally, between 7 and 10 in the morning and 6 to 9 p.m. at night. While these times legally cannot be canceled, these flights cannot be canceled, they can be delayed. A similar strike, this is the second in a pair of strikes, on February 26th caused over 300 flights to be canceled. And this strike specifically is expected to cancel between 1,000 and 1,500 flights, so significantly larger, primarily impacting Rome, Milan, and Venice, which are set to receive the worst of it. Travelers should also note that Pescara's airport, which is called Abruzzo Airport, will be exempted from this strike. So safe abroad travelers are advised to confirm their flight bookings. They should also continue to monitor their airline provider's website for continual updates as their flight nears. Moving on to Belgium, where a 24-hour strike will significantly disrupt not just aviation, but all transportation services throughout Belgium on March 12th. The strike has been called by three main unions, which opposes a government pension reform. Officials are expecting air travel to almost entirely halt, with Brussels Airport, their website themselves, have said that there will be no departing flights on this date of March 12th, with incoming flights also at risk of cancellation during this time. National rail operators also are required to maintain at least minimal services, though these schedules and the amount of trains will be heavily limited as well. In addition to this, even bus and trams are expected to see very heavy disruptions, in addition to a major protest in Brussels itself. So safe abroad travelers are advised to reaffirm travel plans, and they should also maintain flexibility with their itinerary during this period.
Hi, I'm Sarah Johnson. So Japan's cherry blossom season will cause travel disruptions and increase security across the country from mid-March through April. It's important to note that this event is about a full month long due to the different blossoming times of the cherry blossoms. The first one The first blossom will start around March 18th in the Fukuoka city and then end in April 29 in Sapporo. So it starts in the south and it moves through to the north. The cherry blossom season is one of Japan's biggest cultural events, and it attracts millions of international tourists every year. Last year, Japan hit about 10.54 million foreign arrivals by March 2025 and 3.91 million foreign visitors in April alone, which is a new record for Japan, and it is largely driven by the cherry blossom season. So, due to concerns of over-tourism, the Fuji Yoshida authorities have canceled their 2026 Arakurayama Sengen Park Cherry Blossom Festival, which is right in front of Mount Fuji. So it's a really big hotspot. And even though this one really big festival has been canceled, there is still expected to be a high level of international travel, especially even to this area. Due to that, travel delays are expected. The government has released a statement that there will be heightened security, so increased police force in all of these areas. And then large crowds are also to be expected. Travelers are advised to remain vigilant in large crowds and public areas, and also to be prepared for any travel delays, especially in public transportation.
And that brings us to the end. As you can see here on the screen, these are some of the great services we provide at SafeAbroad to support you and your institution's international education programs. If you'd like to learn more about any of these services we provide, you can reach us at the phone number down below as well as the email. These links and contact methods are also available on our website. So as previously stated, we will stay on for the next few minutes to answer any possible questions you may have. But if there are no further questions at this time, we look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.